Welcome back to day 7, Simplifying Rational Expressions Advanced Homework Help. The homework will be available until I think Wednesday or Thursday night, and then Wednesday of this week, week 4, you will be having your first quiz on Khan Academy. So let's go ahead and go over this homework help. I would go back and watch either all the homework help videos or all the note videos, all the lesson videos. It's up to you. Either one are fine. But if you've done all the assignments, that's what's going to show up in the quiz this week. So let's go ahead and get started. All of the questions basically said the same thing. Simplify the following rational expression and express in extended form. Some of them asked for the unincluded, the undefined, excluded terms. Some of them did not. So when it does ask for that, I will go over that with you. All right, let's go to the first one. Let me just get this out of the way. There we go. So x squared plus 8xk plus 16k squared all over x squared minus 16k squared. All right, so we're going to have to go ahead and factor the top and factor the bottom. Remember, we learned in the last video that we shouldn't be scared that there's that second letter there. That just means the first letter, the first variable x is going to come first in my parentheses. And then because the x and the k are together in the middle and the k squared is last, is the second square that I see, it's going to go after the addition or subtraction sign. So I'm going to go ahead and make my t-chart for the top, for my numerator. 1 times 16 is 16, and that's 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Those are my factors. Those are the ways to multiply and get 16. And my b term is 8. So I could just go ahead quickly and say, well, I think it's 4 and 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Yep, there it is. Okay, or I could have gone through and said 1 plus 16 is 17, 2 plus 8 is 10, and filled it in. Okay, but I know what it's going to look like on the top. It's going to have x first, because that's my first variable, my first letter, plus 4 from my factoring, and then it has to have k because that's my second variable, my second letter. My second one is going to look exactly the same. There we go. All over, and now I'm going to go ahead and factor the denominator. The denominator looks very similar to the numerator. I can go ahead and use my t-chart. 1 times minus negative 16 is negative 16. So I have my same factors again, which is nice. But I know that there's a combo of one's negative, one's positive, and I'm going to go for that one, hoping that that's the one. And then I'll come back and change it if need be. There's no middle term, and I know there's no middle term because I should see this x and k in the middle, so that means it's 0. 0 I could think of as being positive, so that would work. This is not going to work. That's going to be 6. There it is. There's my 0. So it looks almost exactly the same, except I have a minus. And remember, the k's got to go with the 4's. The k have got to go with the 4's. All right. Now, this one, because it has the two variables, x and k, it did not ask me for an undefined when I did the assignment. So all I have to do is simplify. I'll cross out with my pen. Those two cross out, and they are completely gone. Nothing is left. Even the parentheses are gone. Really? I mean, I like them, but it's not necessary. There's my answer. K and K do not cancel out because remember, this is truly a factor. They go together. That's why I guess I like to leave the parentheses, but no points taken off if they are not there. Okay, moving on to my next one. Here's my next problem, and I'm sorry, my dog came and messed with me, but This one looked very, very familiar. And if you go back, this is example 3 in the last video. In the 6.4 simplifying rational expressions advanced, and it'll say continued. This is the continued one. It's in the very last video. And so I'm not going to go ahead and do it. If you get this one and you need this answer, go to that last video where it said continued. I think it was day 6's video, and it is example 3 right away at the beginning. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. Okay, so in number 3, I can see that I have a y squared, and that's it on the top. And then I have a y squared, a y, and a constant on the bottom. This one scared me at first because I thought, oh, 81 and 169. But then I thought, those are perfect squares. 81 is 9 times 9. And 169 is also a perfect square. It is 13 times 13. So I already know how to factor this. It's going to be 9y and 13. 9y and 13. Okay, now I just have to figure out how would I add and subtract the 13 so that the y goes missing. Well, I would need 1 minus and 1 plus. This is what's called a perfect square trinomial, or perfect square trinomial. And it's gonna factor this way. So the 9's coming from 81. 9 times 9 is 81. Y times y is y squared. And 13 times 13 gives me 169. The minus and the plus give me the negative. And then, of course, when I add them, I'm gonna get 0. Now, in the bottom, I do have to factor this one. Okay, 9 times 13 is 117. And I have to add it to negative 22. Now, 117 is a pretty big number, and I thought this was going to take me forever, but I just kind of went about it one factor at a time. So I said 1 times 117. And then I said to myself, well, how do I make that negative? Well, negative 1 plus 117 is positive 116, so that's not going to work. I need to flip them. There is my negative. So that's what I used the first one for, is just to figure out which one was positive and which one was negative. Then I said, well, 2 doesn't go into it, but 3 does. 39 times 3. 39 times 3. And of course, this is my pattern. I have to have a positive 3, and I have to have a negative 39. No, wait. No. I lied. Let me go back. They have to both be negative because I need a negative when I add 118. Negative, negative. They have to both be negative because I need a positive. Oh, I'm glad I caught that. Negative 3 plus negative 39 gives me negative 42. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit closer, and then I thought, oh, what else? And so I just kept trying numbers. I tried 6, that didn't work. I tried, I knew not to try 5. I tried 4, that didn't work. I knew it didn't divide by 5. I tried 6, that didn't work. I tried 7, that didn't work. And I know they didn't work because they kept giving me fractions in my calculator. I tried 8, that didn't work. Finally, I got to 9. I got to 9 times 13. Negative, negative. And when I added those together, I got negative 22. And I feel like I really lucked out because I'm sure there's one more in there. Maybe there's not. But I just felt like I lucked out. Okay, now I need to be careful because this one is that slide divide and it's going to catch me. So I need to factor a little bit over here. Yes, I can think of it as y minus 9. But I have to divide by 9. And yes, I can think of it as y minus 13, but I have to divide by 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. So this is going to become y minus 1. 13 divided by 9 stays 13 divided by 9. So I'm going to grab the 9 and slide it up, and this becomes 9y minus 13. That slide divide that we talked about, I think, at the end of last semester. All right, there we go. Now, this one did ask me for my undefined terms. Okay, this one did ask me for my undefined terms. So here's where I'm going to get my undefined terms from, my excluded ones. And I'm going to do those off to the side over there. And then I'm going to go ahead and simplify. So you might notice that 1, you might have already noticed that 1 is an excluded term. And then this one looks a little bit tougher. So I would add the 13, giving me 9y equals positive 13. Then I would divide by 9, giving me positive 13 divided by 9. There's my two undefined excluded terms. Okay, now I need to be careful because I see two 9y's in the top and I see a 9y in the bottom, but I got to make sure I get the right one. It's the subtraction one that cancels. So my final answer is 9y plus 13 over y minus 1. There's my simplified. Now the expanded form that they ask for on Khan Academy is would be if you had to distribute anything. That's what they're asking for. An expanded form is if you have to distribute anything. Okay, last problem. Here's my last question that I got. And I felt really lucky about this last one because I only have this much space left in my notebook to show you, and it's just enough. On the top, I have the difference of squares. And so I can go ahead and go straight to my t-chart. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1, and we're missing that ky in the middle, so I have a 0. 1 times 1 is 1, and to get a negative, I need 1 negative, 1 positive, and when I add those together, I go ahead and get 0. So there's my factoring. K minus 1y, because remember when the y squared second, it has to go with a number, k plus 1y. Now remember, technically those ones don't need to be there. On the bottom, because there is no square, all I can take out is the greatest common factor, the biggest thing that both of them share. And the only thing that I can see that they share is the 3, because k and y are different letters. So 3, and if I divide each one by 3, I get left with k plus y. Okay, this one did not ask me to do the undefined. It was only question number 3, and that was because I had the 2 variables in the other ones. Well, no, question number 2 did, but I did that on a previous video, so you could go back and look. But k plus y is the same as k plus 1y, because remember I said the ones don't really have to be there. So this will cancel with this, leaving me with k minus y, because remember the 1 does not have to be there, divided by 3. There's my final answer, and I hope this really helps. And remember, upcoming next this week after this assignment is the quiz, and then we'll move on to, I think, end behavior. See you guys later.